Um, Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. Well, I don't know. That's my Valentine. It doesn't.
Hey. Anyway, it's from the heart. That's it.
That's
right.
right.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Eavesdrop in a Moment. This is February 14, 2024. Season number 5, our second EP this year. Truly appreciate you commenting as you're here. Please let us know where you're commenting from, where you are, and what your thoughts are about whatever we're speaking about. Tracy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I mean, today is the day of love, right? It's also my brother's birthday.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been a special, always, held a special place in our family.
Gotcha. I
So,
see you.
yeah.
I see you sporting that red.
I am. I had to get
See
out
you
a little bit
sporting
red
that
today. And
red.
it's warm here. You're in North Carolina. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's been unseasonably warm. So
Yeah.
here I
Hang
am,
on.
no sleeves.
I'll sport my red.
Yeah. Have you gotten any special Valentines today?
Yeah. I got special Valentines from Berlin, the kids, the grown-ups, not kids. Looking forward to spending the evening with my Valentine. I think we're going to church also, and I'm like, I think it'll be nice.
Yeah, you can spend some in the church,
But
in the house of God. You could spend a little bit of love time there.
it's a C group, so it's a community group that we have. Small groups within the church. We're gonna we have it every Wednesday, so it's gonna be there. But I think that's where, I mean, for my belief, I think one of the things that his love for me is so that's where it starts from. That love shared, sending his son to die for me, and that gospel that makes me live today in the way I live. But I tell you, I don't know why I'm just jumping straight in. Wow. Yeah, I think I'm gonna jump
Well, because
straight
that's
in.
what we do here. We just dive.
um, I wrote in my journal, just praying this morning, and I wrote, um, teach me how to love my wife and people. But I think it starts in the home first before we go outside. that, and I wrote, teach me how to love so that love covers all.
Mm.
Because I'm
Mm.
finding that I'm justifying, I'm asking questions, I am, I'm not covering completely.
Mm.
And covering completely, is I'm not saying, and Berlin's motive for doing things will always be to the glory of the relationship. My motive will always be to the glory of the relationship. I'm not sitting scheming for how I'm going to bring her down, how I'm going to make her angry, how I'm going to, make her offended,
Well, I hope
so
not.
that so that when it happens, when she does something that seems offensive, but not what she intended, that my love for her covers that. I can still address it in a loving manner versus taking offense and going down a completely different path that will disturb this apple cart, right? So my love for her must so I tell you this story. Yesterday, a day before, we're going to the gym early in the morning. She takes her bedroom slippers and she leaves it in the den. So I come back, we get back home, and I see it, and loving me, I pick it up, took it to the stairs, and said, "Okay, I'm going to go upstairs shortly, so I'm just going to put all these slippers here." A couple of minutes later, I came and took everything upstairs. She's downstairs going, "Where
Where are my
are
slippers?
where are my slippers? I don't want to touch this cold floor. I want my slippers." Wulwyn, did you move my slippers because you felt they weren't in the right place? And I was like, Lord, help me. There I was saying, I'm gonna move her slippers. I'm gonna take it upstairs, and I go, no, I did. She says, no, knowing you. I'm like, no, really. I said, I did it out of love. And we laughed. She looked at me. She did her, but as much as that's a humorous a piece, but I think there are many things in the relationship, in our various relationships with people, with friends, with family, with our loved ones, our partners, that when we are cognizant of this love, that it covers, it protects, it gives, and it gives so much that it doesn't mark, I've given too many times, I'm going to keep this time, I'm not going to do it this time. um so I just I dove right in there. So
No, that's great. Now, and you know where I think that comes from? I think that comes from starting by loving ourselves. Because
Mhm.
when we fill our own bucket, because I think we do spend so much time trying to use, other things, people, whatever, as surrogates for the love we're not giving to ourselves. I was just talking to a client earlier about this today. I said, I'm hearing so much, in where you have finding improvement in your life based on how much self-care there's going on. And self-care, goes, as we all know, goes way beyond eating right and taking care of your personal body.
Mhm.
It's really about loving yourself. And how do we do that? And where do we get the guidance on what is loving for ourselves? I mean,
Mhm.
I had to laugh when you were talking about moving the slippers, because I
Slippers.
mean, I'm known in this household for moving things to where they belong.
Supposed to be.
Right. And I'll do it. I mean, it's really bad in the kitchen, when people are, and I'm absent-mindedly putting things back when, my daughter or my husband are like, I just took that
Still
out so
using
I
it.
could use it. Could you please stop putting it back? Like, oh, sorry. I'm just so used to, like, putting things where they belong. So I had to laugh at that. But, I think that, when we start, because, I was sharing with this client, is that we
Mhm.
have this inner guidance system that God bestowed upon us, right? Like, this is part of how we learn what yeses and nos mean for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't about doing. We aren't here to do. It's like, oh, we've been subscribed to this story of, oh, how much can you do in your life, for others or whatever. And I'm like, it's not about doing. It's about being. And when you really lean into that being, then you will choose to do the things that are in alignment with that being, right? So if you want to embody integrity or embody love, embody goodness, right? Then that's a way of being. And then from that place, picking up all the data points within yourself that tell you and align you to that, let's say loving. I want to be a loving being. Okay, what does love feel like? And then I choose to do the things that resonate to that way of being. And so I think we've really learned things backwards. It's this whole, if I do this, then I will be loved. No. It's about being love, doing things from the place of being love, embodying love, being the human being that is the embodiment of love. And that then generates more love in the world. Love within your relationships, love within, how you feel about your work, or everything that comes from you comes from that first to that place of being. It's not do to be, it's be to do. And that's I think the ticket, because we're spending so much time, and then of course it becomes something that's somewhat obligatory oftentimes. Oh, to be a good husband, I need to. Like, need to is obligation. Sorry, that's the language of obligation. Even if you tell yourself it's coming from a place of love, and even if it is actually coming from a place of love, the decision is first coming from a place of learned obligation or expectation, which by the definition is not coming from love. Or from a place of being love. And we can only start by doing that within ourselves. So if we cultivate that concept of beingness, what am I being right now? Right? Or what do I want to be being? Do I want to be being funny? What do I want to embody? In other words, like people say, well, this is the whole beingness. And I'm like, it's embodiment. Like, think about it as embodiment. What do you want to embody in this moment? Not focusing on what you wish you had been doing in the past or what you think you need to be doing in the future, but like right now in this moment,
seize it.
What are you choosing to embody? And like this client was sharing, he's like, I just feel so much more authentic. Like, I just feel, my buddy was telling me this weekend that it's like, man, you're just showing. I was like, yeah, you're just being you. Like I said, you even said you guys didn't have an agenda. You just were choosing to do whatever you felt like doing. I'm like, that's being. Right? And your buddy's like, yeah, man, like I haven't seen you like this in years. And like, because he's recognizing your authentic self. Like, that's why he likes you. That's why he's been a buddy for so many years, is because these are the things within you that he has always liked and always, has seen, but hasn't seen in a while. Because life has gotten so caught up in what you thought you needed to be doing for other people and all of this. And then he gets to see you in this light of being. I mean, I went back and watched our episode 2 weeks ago. I have never seen myself more authentic.
It was.
I have never viewed myself, not to say other people haven't seen, that in that space, but I was just like, oh, there I am. That's me. That really, really, like, that's me. And it's, we need to see that in ourselves. We need to feel it in ourselves. But that's what other people want too. I mean, people know, even strangers know when we're not showing up. I mean, they can't say they know because, again, it's the whole headspace. Well, I don't know that person, so I can't say I know them. But people can feel it when we're showing up authentic. It's like that guy years ago who said he couldn't work with me because my heart wasn't, he was a complete stranger, but he could sense that I wasn't being my authentic self. And who wants to have a coach who isn't being who they are? Or anybody else for that matter, a friend, a loved one. It just doesn't. I mean, we can't reach that person. We can't get behind, like, we sense that there's something else there, but we can't reach it. Like, that's no fun.
Wow. You as you were speaking, the only thing I just wrote, love is fluid. And you kept saying, you have to be Afterwards, you explain how the friend said, "Hey, we can just sit here without any agenda," you know. Um, the fluidity of it is you know the parameters of what it is. Like, I think, like what I was saying, it's gentle, it's kind, it's patient, it doesn't keep score. So if I'm engaging in that, being that, as just to take the word, being that way, who in this world doesn't want to be around that? Now, as
Yeah.
you're coming on Eavesdroppers, hey, welcome to Eavesdrop, Valentine edition, February 14, 2024. This is EP2. Let us know where you're coming from, and hey, let us know your love story. And it
Yo,
doesn't have
that's
to be it doesn't have, I know, it doesn't have to be a partner, and be work, be, family, friends, or a unloved story that we can infuse love within. But just let us know. But we were discussing just how love covers, love protects. It's You have to embody love. We have to be and not to do. You have to not do to be, but be to do. And now I'm just talking about how the fluidity of it, having the parameters of gentleness and kindness, and when you engage, it's so fluid that who doesn't want to be around that? Who doesn't want to experience such a gift
Mhm.
of who you are? Because sometimes, one thing I would say is, what blocks us is our offenses, our hurts, things that we've experienced. I met a lady a while. I'm not going to say when, because if I say when and someone's listening, and I'm not going to say lady, I met this person. And as I engaged the person, all I could see was a veil. I
Mhm.
mean, a dark veil, not dark because she's Lord help me,
Evil.
because of darkness, wearing black or anything. No, it was just a veil was in front, and the engagement of her was skittish, was onshore. And I looked at her and I said, "Oh my goodness, something's going on here." Just met her, and just as you said, you meet the person, you're not going to say, "Hey, you have a problem," and blah, blah, blah. But just everything that was given to me was, there was hurt there. And it's so hard, and I would say it's so hard for you to be your authentic self prior to cleaning up your house, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because you cannot engage with 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 I'm not going to say trash, because trash is going to say you created it, and just burdens. You cannot engage with burdens.
They
The
get in the way.
burden, it gets in the way, that you have to, it's like putting on multiple glasses here, Tracy. If I put this on and I put another and another and another and another, and all I'm going to do is, and none of those are my prescription. All I have to do is I have to cut through one, and then, oh my goodness, I got to go through another one until I get through all of these various faces, spectrums per se, before I come in and say, "Oh, this is what I'm really seeing. This is a story," because this distorts my story. This distorts my engagement with Tracy, my engagement with people. It distorts me so much that I'm not my authentic self, as you were saying about your client. um I believe, and I think we've spoken about this in the past, where it always, and you said it earlier, it starts from here.
Mhm.
It starts with us going and finding, and uncovering, unpeeling the onion, so that we can see who we are. And we run away from that sometimes. We
Mm.
don't don't want to unfold and see, oh my goodness, who is this person? And we're quick to move the speck from somebody's eye, and the huge plank is in ours, distorted, right? And we can't engage.
That's
Okay,
it. Yeah, we
but
can't engage. We're engaging through, like you said, the masks, the wounds, the experiences, the belief systems, the shoulds, right? We're experiencing through that as opposed to who we are, through who we are.
mm,
And that is such a profound point. And I think
mm,
that, I said to this client today, I said, there's really only, in my mind, only two ways to live:
mm,
consciously and intentionally, or accidentally and unconsciously. Right. So when people say to me, oh, I was so lucky, or you're so lucky that thing, that tells me that they're living unconsciously. Because if you were living intentionally, you would know it had nothing to do with luck.
mm,
That you take full responsibility and accountability for all of it, right? Good, bad, and
mm,
otherwise. That through your choices, you get the results, right? Of that you experience in life. And so, for me, it is that constant bringing what's unconscious into the conscious space so that I can be intentional about it. Like I tell people,
mm,
you want to change things, you first have to become aware of what is, because until you build that awareness, it's in an unconscious place and you can't work on things unconsciously,
yeah.
right? You have to bring them into, I mean, you can to some
Mm,
extent, you can. I mean, there are ways
mm,
to work in the unconscious field, you know, but you have to do it intentionally. There has to be some degree of intentionality involved. And so I think that that's really the piece when it comes to love. We
mm,
are love.
mm.
We are an energy body of love. So if
Yes.
we are not emitting love, if we are not being love, embodying love, it's because of like all these things you're talking, these filters, these other things that are in the way. And it
Mm,
is our job to clear those, right? To heal
yeah.
those, to do whatever we need to do to work through those. And again, I do believe the way to it is through it. That
Mm,
this idea of challenge, the degree of challenge is also the degree of potential growth, right? So also the degree of challenge is the degree of greatness. So if we can be forged by this huge challenge into our greatness, I mean, I always feel like the
mm.
bigger the squeeze, the bigger the potential greatness on the other side, so for me,
Uh-huh.
I'm being loved even more by giving me this huge challenge in order to refine myself to a point of greatness, right?
Ooh.
I mean, I'm being gifted greatness. Now I have to work through it, through the
Mm,
challenge, but I'm being given that. If I'm willing
mm,
to allow myself and humble myself and surrender myself to that challenge, then I am given the opportunity to be in my greatness.
mm.
I can't think of a more loving gift. I really cannot. And I know that coming from past 5 months of a lot of challenge, and I'm not comparing it. I'm not, saying, I mean, there's people who, I mean, there's degrees, right? But I'm just saying that the
Mm,
choice that we give the story that's
mm,
unfolding, the challenge that's, that this was done to me, or because of this person, or we blame, or we whatever, that is akin in my mind to throwing the gift back.
mm.
Like, how dare you give this to me? How dare you give me this opportunity to be great?
Oof. Um, I want to share you just I want to share something here. Um, yeah, I just want to share this. Um, this is this is
That's a
this
good one.
is this is us. Common, and that the diamond is the diamond in us. When you were saying it, is all I was trying to explain. And this picture I'm explaining for those of you replaying, or will only be listening, is the picture of the person mining, going through, breaking down the rocks, and he's inches away from getting to the deposit of the gemstones. and he turns around dejected. And as you were talking about the degree of the challenge is the degree of potential growth. Uh, I was speaking to a couple of people last night, and I said, just stay. It's coming. Just stay. Just wait. Be patient. You know how we put ourselves into positions to be seen. So if the president or your favorite pop star or religious person is coming, you shove and push and get in line to so that you can be seen by that person. Um, Turn around to yourself, put yourself in line to so that you can see the gem that you are. So as you're working on this and you don't see it, it means you haven't uncovered it yet. And in the
Mhm.
process, there's blood, sweat, and tears. There will be encouragements, discouragements, but don't stop. The bottom part of the picture, he's older and he's dejected, but he's just one pickaxe away from getting to it. So when you were saying that, Tracy, is what came to my mind about the potential. The bigger the squeeze, the bigger the potential of greatness on the other side,
Mhm.
and that speaks to me because it speaks to us. We've been on a path that's leading somewhere. It's leading it has to lead somewhere. It cannot be to a cul-de-sac where I'm going to turn and come back to where I've come from. It's leading to somewhere. It's leading to a new place. And if the cul-de-sac is there, you become a pathfinder. You will break and open a path at the end of that cul-de-sac because you already know what's behind you. I can't turn around now. Don't turn around.
Mhm.
um I'm so grateful for what you said. The bigger the squeeze, the degree of the challenge is the degree of the potential growth. Not saying, oh, don't go looking for challenges to say, oh, I'm gonna get a challenge. The degree of this challenge is the degree of my growth. No, no, no.
Mhm.
It's as you are uncovering, as you're digging and you're seeing, oh my goodness, this thing, or the vision, the purpose that you've been given. You're like, gosh, how can I uncover? How can I get to this? Keep working at it, chipping one day at a time, one day at a time. And those gemstones, whew, how are they going to come? They're going to come. It's always going to come with you developing people. Always come to you with helping based on what you have learned on your journey, and the resources will pour into you because of your value to mankind.
Mhm.
Mm,
Mhm. I love
yeah.
that. I love
Mm,
that visual too. Thank you for showing that.
mhm,
Well, and I think there's other options too, because there's that guy up above who was going for the gemstones. He was just like pickaxe through it.
mm,
It's like there's different ways to go for the gemstones. Like you could have
mm,
just as easily had a guy with a, big power drill, one of those, drills that drill into the side of mountains. And he's down there having
mm.
a party, and it's like, all right, let's drill for a little bit. All right, let's have a little
Yep,
bit of a party. Okay, let's drill a little bit. Let's have it. He doesn't necessarily have to be like, I mean, again,
that's true.
we can take on this concept of blazing a trail in a number of different ways. And that's the
Mm,
whole point, is if we love ourselves first,
mm,
then the inspiration we have, inspired buy-in, right? The intrinsic buy-in that we have, that we've created, is to how do I want to discover life and aspects of myself? Do I want to do it in a way that's kind of grit your teeth and like, drill down and blood, sweat, tears, and what we've been taught, which is to
mm,
work hard? Or
mm,
is it to work smart, in the sense of smart is like, I'm going to do it when I'm inspired to do it. And then I'm also going to trust that maybe there's parts that I don't have to do,
mm.
but I need to be listening to guidance to know when that is, when it's time to,
Yeah.
to put in the effort, and when it's time to pull back. Because again, the idea of surrender, I think we've also, many people feel it's like laying down and giving up, and that's not what surrender is. Surrender is probably one of the hardest things to truly do correctly, which is to let go of the resistance. And most of the time, if there's resistance outside of ourselves, it's because there's already resistance within ourselves. So if what we resist persists, surrendering means we stop persisting through not resisting, and we can allow the flow. Because it's really what it is. Surrender is allowing. Surrender is the same thing as allowing. But we have to have faith and trust in that flow. I mean, if people are constantly like, oh, is it going to flow in the right direction? Oh my God. Are you sure it's going to, when I have leaders who are like, yeah, I hired these people. I want them to do their job. I'm like, and when they do start to do their job and maybe they're not doing it the way you think they should be doing it, what do you do then? Well, I go in and I tell, did they ask? I mean, I'm not saying don't step in, but maybe inquire, maybe invite, maybe, maybe don't, come in like a bullhorn, like kind of thing. I mean, there are ways. Again, it's not just the what, it's the how.
Yeah.
And where too, where are we applying ourselves, and where do we need to maybe step back and say, that's not for me to do.
Yeah.
I need to just have faith and trust that I did all I could, and that, maybe the person needs to fall down a couple times to get their feet wet and to figure out their way and to own their space, and to kind of like you. I mean, you were lovingly thinking that you were doing the right thing by putting, the slippers back. But meanwhile, Verlin's like, I want my slippers here because I want to be able to put them back on. So what other people need, we may not be aware of. We may be thinking, oh, my person clearly didn't get, what I was telling them. And it's because we're thinking through the lens of how we would do it. Right. But we're not having faith and trust that maybe their way of finding their way forward and into developing themselves as that role that we have entrusted them to play is going to look and be different.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Go ahead.
I mean, so this is a little bit of a tangent. I was, thinking about love. I was thinking about a conversation that I had with my husband just earlier. Where are we? Wednesday. It was the end of last week. So, well, actually, no, it was the beginning of this week, because it was the weekend when this last weekend we said goodbye to our foreign exchange student.
Thomas. Oh my goodness.
I know. And, and I said to my husband, it was just, he felt it. And we were just kind of talking about how I said, I really love having kids in the house. I love the youth and especially teenagers. And our exchange student, my daughter and my daughter's boyfriend were like, it was a really good mix. The three of them together, they were very playful and would joke around and tease each other. And, it was just fun to watch them. And my favorite times were when we were all hanging out in the kitchen, either I was making food or they were making food, or we were just, kind of hanging out, and they were just so funny with one another. And that's what I was saying to him. I said, I'm really going to miss that dynamic. Because, Angie, our exchange student, she was here with us a lot, and Madison has been more, out and doing things. She's got a couple jobs. She's a boyfriend, so she's gone more. And so just having a kid always here was just so great. I just loved it. So anyway, we were talking a little bit about kind of some of the things that she had shared with us, that she had learned from us, and that she really wanted to take back with her, that she said she felt that she became a lot more independent, and that, she was left to kind of learn how to, handle some things that typically would be handled for her back at home, and, just some really neat things. And I said to him, I said, I look at that people really come into our lives and they're just allowed to be. And I remember that in my mother's home, like coming home various times, and it was whether she was at the house still that I grew up in or some of the other houses that she owned. I just always felt it was her presence that would make a home where I didn't feel like I had to do anything. It's like, oh, here I am, so I have to like prove that I'm, whatever. Like I could just be. Anytime I came home with my mom, I could always just be. And I said, isn't it great that we have created that too?
Yeah. Yeah.
that in my house growing up, our house was where my friends and my brother's friends would come to just be, because they didn't always have that in their homes.
Hmm.
And they could just come and hang out and be teenagers and be
Yep.
kids and just whatever. And not to say there weren't rules and everything. That's not it. It's
Hmm.
that they were embraced for who they were, and they were allowed to develop and discover who that was.
Yes. Yeah.
And I have so much gratitude for that. Like, I think, again, it's an embodiment, because both my husband and I are those kinds of people. We're just kind of like, well, who are you? Like, what do you need? Because I
Yeah.
see it in my daughter's boyfriend. It's like the more comfortable he gets, he's just, I
Open.
just, yeah, he's just
Yeah.
being.
Yes.
And so it's great. It's I think we really can provide that for people, where they don't feel like they have to do a song and dance routine when they're with you, or when I mean,
Hmm.
it's like, yeah, you're playing, like, you want to go get a glass of water, go get a glass of water. You want to go
Yep.
you guys are
Yeah.
hungry, go make something.
Go make something. Yeah.
Just go, like, whatever's back in the pantry, go make something, and but giving them the opportunity, because it's like our exchange student for the
Hmm.
longest time, she's like, no, I'm not hungry. Like, if we were having a later dinner or whatever, and it's like, just go make yourself something. And we've come to find out that she wasn't really sure
She
how to
was.
do so, but she's like, I've learned how to do all sorts of things, and she's discovered her capacity, and she's like, I really
Mm.
like that. It feels independent, and it feels
Yeah.
good to be able to do for yourself.
Wow.
Um, so
Wow.
yeah, I think that's really important too, because we can think we're doing the right thing for people when we're constantly doing stuff for them.
Hmm.
And what it's
Hmm.
taking away from them is the opportunity to learn how to do it for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
especially
were,
with our kids.
if you look at the last time I tried to come in and I said continue, it was about, I wrote like kids, children, let them be, have faith and trust. And you just explain a whole lot of things that buttressed that.
Mm.
I will come to that, but I just remember, growing up, my sister, what, past her, mid-century mark, a couple years ago, was hanging out with all her high school friends. I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago, about 6 or 7 of them. And one of them turned to her and said, man, Colina, Nini, I so enjoyed coming to your house, because your house was a place where love was just it just floated in there. Your dad to your mom was never arguing, never defensive, never, he covered, right? Uh and I would come when you say, where do we go? I would always say your house. And that was the reason, because at my house, I really didn't want to be around. I wanted to be there. So we had a basketball court also. And I tell you, Tracy, 4 o'clock, 3:30, rather 3:34. The sun went down by 7:38. We would People would just come in the yard. They would just come in the yard. And the only thing they knew they wouldn't do was be abusive, because mom would just say, out, get out of the yard. And I'm like, oh, Mr. Sport, we're so sorry. We're so sorry. But it was such a place that we could hang and just be. Now back to the children, and we're talking about having faith and trust in the flow and surrendering. I'm at the point with the relationship with my children, 18 and 21.
Hmm.
I used to say, I'm not your friend when they were younger, meaning there are certain things I would have to tell you that we're not equal and will never be equal. I'm not your friend. You have to listen. You have to
Hmm.
obey. You have to trust me that when I say stop, you don't go, stop. No, no, no. I'm telling you, stop right now for a reason. Or move from the road. Don't tell me why, daddy. And then before you know it, the truck, boom. So I would speak that for a long time as they were growing up. I've come to the place now where I go, you know, my relationship with you at this moment, 18 and 21, I'm still your dad, but I'm turning into a mentor friend right now. And I'm trusting, I'm surrendering everything. I will not tell you, you have to do this. I said,
Mhm.
because I've given you the parameters over the years to know the heuristics to how to make decisions, how, how you can engage, and it's whatever the result, it's on you. You will have to go through the consequences. So right now, my relationship with you is a mentor father, but more mentor slash friend at this stage. And it's something that a lot of parents, and I would say this, we should always engage. I've seen parents engage with kids out of fear, training out of fear. And
Mhm.
that's and they love their kids. They love their kids. But
Mhm.
the fear, the kid says, Mom loves me. But gosh, mom and dad, but they're doing it out of fear. Fear
Mhm.
from our standpoint that I don't want you going in the street and having, so don't go in the street and do no, 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 no.
Mhm.
Whereas when we engage with love and say, sweetheart, I want you to go and enjoy yourself, but be careful. Here are the different things to look for. Around that corner, there's a guy who's going to say you're the most beautiful thing on the planet. Sweetheart, you are. But there's a motive. Da 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 da. Now, there's another thing that you have to look for in X, Y, and Z. I think that rather than I don't want you, there are people in the street who are going to harm you. Are you kidding me? Yes, that's true. But there are people in there who are gonna love you also. So if I give you those parameters at this stage at 18, 21, I'm not Tracy. I mean, Tracy, I'm so laid back currently in my parenting that when they come, I go, if you have a question for me, I'm going to answer. If you don't have a question for me and you think you know it, go ahead and do it. But I'm not going to go behind saying, "What are you doing? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? Did you do?" No, 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 no. What I am
Mhm.
is I'm at peace. One, two, I've surrendered there. I read a Bible verse last night, Psalms 112, I believe it says, um, for for those who love the Lord and fear God and are blessed, their children will be mighty in the land.
Mhm.
So why should I, because I know I fear the Lord and I'm blessed, why should I not know that my kids will be mighty? I cannot make my kids mighty. I cannot. You say in Liberia, they say you're born a child, but you don't born a heart. You
Mhm.
you you bring the child and you don't know what that child's going to turn out to be. The child is given to you for a period of time so that you are allowed to mold the child in the best way you know how. And God forbid, sometimes we fail. But in our failure, the kids understand, the children understand that this is not the right way to do it.
Mhm.
And I would not perpetuate to the next generation. But sometimes they do because gosh, sometimes their hurt and pain is just some. But I'm saying in this case where you've trained the children, you've done what you're supposed to do with love, let them go surrender. Uh,
Mhm.
you
I
know,
think that is probably one of the most beautiful things I've heard a parent say about their parenting, right? And about their kids. I mean, and I couldn't agree more. And yet, just like the biggest challenges, it is, I think, perhaps one of the largest challenges because many people love through doing. They love through
mm,
doing for. And so to show their love, they do for their kids. Let me do it
ah,
for them to make it
yeah,
easier on them, because if it's easier on them, then they'll be happy. And if they're happy, then I'll be happy, and then they'll
mm,
know that they're loved. And that's not how it works.
mm, mm,
And so, I mean, not to say that we shouldn't ever do things for our kids,
sure.
that's not at all the case, but we got to check ourselves at the door when it comes to why we're doing things.
Ah,
Because
ooh,
if it's really for them, then we would be making very different decisions.
Ooh, explain it, dear. See where it's going.
So a lot of times we're doing stuff not for our children, but for ourselves, right? Like, so like you talk about fear. Fear is one of the greatest motivators, period, parenting or otherwise. And we may not again, living unconsciously, if we're not living intentionally and consciously, we are living unconsciously and accidentally. We tell ourselves that story, I'm doing this for my kid, but it's really because I'm fearful and I am uncomfortable and I don't want to feel that fear and discomfort. So that's why I'm doing it. And, I have a hard time watching my kids suffer or struggle right? Because it's not easy. It's not easy to see our kids struggle, but that's part of development. That's a natural part of development. If we're doing for them when we see them struggling, that's not about them. That's about ourselves and our discomfort. That's where we need to check it, because if we continue to perpetuate that, then we end up with kids that never develop. They never develop past a certain point where they can do for themselves, where they feel comfortable doing for themselves. It's the funniest. We were driving Angie to the airport and Madison drove, and Jeff and I were literally in the back seat. So I'm looking at him like, please don't be a backseat driver. But it's hard. It's really hard. It's just like, and I'm not saying when they're going 70 in a 55 mile per hour zone that you're like, slow the heck down. Like,
correct.
No, please do. But my kid has a lead foot. It's like, oh geez. And so to your point, it's sitting back there and saying, do you have any idea why the speed limit is 55? Well, because they just want us to go slow. No, because I want you to notice, like what you were saying, like that guy around the corner, like you start to explain it.
Yes.
I want you to notice the roadway and all of the yields and all of the different, ways in which traffic is coming in from blind spots. The reason they have you going 55 is because there's all these potential places you can't see that if you're going too fast, you won't be able to stop fast enough. And that is going to be a massive car accident. Right. So you are not abiding just based on numbers they just throw out there and decide to stick a sign up. The planning is such that there's reasons why limits are set the way they are. And if you don't abide by that, then you're not abiding by the fact that this was a measured decision and you could be setting yourself and others up for harm. And so it's that kind of thing, because then now it's not just, oh, mom or dad said, or the laws say I have to go this. It's an obligatory kind of thing or not. It's now a more holistic understanding of why these things are in place for a reason. And then you're abiding by something completely different. You're not just you're doing what you're told. You're doing based on what you understand. And I think when we can teach our kids to understand and to seek to understand, that's what I was told growing up, is don't just take an answer at its, at face value. Seek to understand. My way of doing that was always like, but why? But why? But why? But why? And sometimes we're told because that's the way it is, and we have to go find the true answers ourselves, because quite frankly, that person doesn't know.
Doesn't know because I said so.
They're not telling us because they don't know. Right. So if we keep asking them why, it's just going to frustrate everyone. So it's like, if you need more to understand, then you may have to be the one to go look for more to understand, but don't stop seeking to understand.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And don't rely on others to explain it to you. You're going to get a little bit from different people, but you may have to be the one to connect the dots.
Yes.
You might have to be the one to do that work. And that refines your ability to understand even further. So, I really like that. That's a big takeaway from what I heard you say, is that it's taking the time to express and explain and not just tell because I said so, or that's just what you need to do, or, because that's coming. First of all, that's us not choosing to understand. Like, what? I'm curious. Why is it? I know that it's probably right, but I don't know why. So I don't truly understand it.
Yeah.
So let me go looking, let me
Mm.
go understand it better so that I can explain it to my kids better. We can further develop our own education and understanding, so that we come from that place.
Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
some cases, it's there may not be a way to fully express or explain things. And in that case, I've always said to Madison, I'm like, this is what I've experienced in my life.
Ah.
And I'm putting this up for consideration for you,
Ooh.
but I have found it to be incredibly helpful for me. So whether you choose to use it or not, or choose to add to it, that's up to you. But I'm giving this to you as a gift because it's been helpful for me. Now you choose what you'd want to do with it, because there's plenty of things. I've gotten
Mm.
plenty of gifts in my life that other people thought were really, really valuable. And I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
I know.
so, so gifts can be accepted and then maybe passed on.
Mm.
Maybe
Regifted.
you accept it, then you put it down when the person has left the room, you know. But I think if we give with that open-hearted, like,
Mm.
I don't expect this is just
Mm.
something that I have found to be valuable. But then
Yeah.
you get to choose whether it's valuable for you and in what way.
Yeah.
Because I can't
Wow.
exactly explain to you every aspect of so that you would understand. It's just something that I found to be valuable. So there are those things too
Mhm.
that exist.
Mhm.
Not everything can be understood to the nth degree,
Mm.
but I think it's also, again, how we present it.
Yeah, you as you were saying this, yeah, and people may listen to this and say, "Oh, wow, that's 2020, right? It's perfect vision thereafter." Uh, that's true because I can see the many times where I dropped a ball as a parent, where I was going to work and I'm like, "Yo, get in the car, no, get in the car." I still remember this. Jazz is about 4 or 5 years old. No, she's about 3 or 4. Yeah, 3 or 4. And I have a meeting at 10 a.m. Jazz doesn't want to go to daycare. I drive her to, it was in Holly Springs, to basketball. They had just created a nice program in the summer. So I take Jazz there. And for those of you who are on, hey, welcome to Eavesdrop. You got roughly about 8 more minutes to listen. We we drive there and I go, Jazz. She's like, she's in the back in her seat. So I'm like, gosh, Lord, I've gone to the wire where every second is planned now. I know it takes 30 minutes to get to RTP. So I'm Jazz, let's go. Jazz, please. And I take her and I put her at a door and I start to, she says, I know you're about to say. I said, what? She says, you're about to say, I paid money for this. Do not waste my money. Please go, Daddy. I will pay your money back and then I will not come to this place today. So I go, okay, Jazz. That's what I was about to say, because I was about to say, Jazz, we already paid this for a month. So if we paid it for a month, if you don't come, that means the money's going to be wasted. So she just broke it down in her 3-year-old. You're about to say, money's been paid, and
Oh,
you don't. So I go, okay, babe, can I buy you ice cream when you return tonight? She says, oh, really? I say, yeah, can you go and I would get you ice cream? She goes, okay, I can go. I can do it. But here's the point. I should have, Jazz, I have, and what does a 3-year old know? Didn't know a lot because she repeated everything I told her. And I
mm,
go, sweetheart, dad is running late for an appointment for something he has to be. It's like you trying to go to a dance, right? And it's so perfect the way I'm verbalizing it now, but in the heat of the moment, it's so different. Our delivery and
yeah.
and yesterday I had a perfect delivery for Verlin. She asked me, "Well, can you press my dress for me?" I had a meeting at 9, overseas meeting with clients. It's 8:58, Tracy.
Oh,
Then she says, "Sweetheart, can you go downstairs and get a Brillo pad for me?" And I go, I went down, got the Brillo pad. Two. I made it 2 Brillo pads. And I gave it to her. And she says, "Oh, I don't need two. I need one." But in my mind, I had planned to say it, Berlin, I have a 9 o'clock meeting that I'm pressing your clothes and also doing this. I'm running late. That perfect delivery. Do you know how that delivery came out, Tracy? I'm running late. I'm pressing your clothes, and you're giving me so much other stuff to do. And I got a 9 o'clock meeting that I did. And she was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry." And as soon as I paused and said, "What did I do?" No, that was not the way to do it. So I'm saying this because yes, 2020 is so good to, it's perfect in hindsight how I'm telling Jazz, "Sweetheart, I have a meeting," and but in the heat of the moment. So I think going back to what we do, what we said earlier, living consciously and saying, I'm a botch what I'm about to say to you, but it's coming from a good place, sweetheart. Uh, Baby, I, I'm running late. So please bear with me. I can do this one, I can do the other one after, but she's running late too. But bottom line is, as we are engaging, and if we're engaging in love, love is humble also. It's not egoic, it's not prideful. So as we're engaging, the person feels it. The person understands where you're coming from, rather than being the brash. It's not brash. It's
Yeah.
not rude. Because I think I was a bit brash. Hey, you give me closer press, and so understanding that, and it's a learning process, right? I don't know it all. Not perfect, but it's a process. Tracy, I think you got it. We jump from dessert to wrap up and goodbye. You give it to us.
Yeah,
You
we're
got it.
just moving along.
You got your 45 seconds, sweetie.
Well, I mean, I love that. I think, the takeaway here is, the only way we can truly love others is to start by loving ourselves. And, what does that mean? Truly
I'm
choosing
sorry,
to show
Tracy.
up.
You got 2 minutes. 2 minutes,
Oh,
not 45
45
seconds.
seconds. So you're going to let me slow
You
my
slow
talking down a
down, slow, because it's
little
good.
bit?
Good stuff.
Breathe, at least breathe. But I mean, I think it's that we honestly, like, we keep thinking, how can I love others better? How can I be, again, back to what we were talking about last time, our roles. How can I
Mm,
be better in my roles? How can I do things? And again, I really don't subscribe to doing it that way, because we're
mm,
looking out instead of looking in. It's like, how do I love myself more? Because by truly, I don't mean legitimately loving myself. I don't mean being egoic and doubling down
mm,
and being, stingy with our time and everything, and, only getting what we want. That's not it. It's am I paying attention to my cues? Am I paying
mm.
attention to how I feel and what I sense about things? Am I making discerning decisions based on that information? And am I getting clear about how I want to be, how I want to show up, the person that I am, and if I'm taking action that's in alignment with that? All of that is what I'm talking about. That's the self-love. We learn how to do that. We're going to admit those things that we're being conscious about emitting, like integrity and love and kindness,
Yeah.
and whatever else we're subscribing to be.
Mm.
Like I always say, I subscribe to be kind, not nice, but kind. Because sometimes the things that I say in kindness, other people will not interpret as nice,
Mm.
because it's not what they want
Mm.
to hear.
Mm.
And it makes them uncomfortable. But
Mm.
from my heart, I feel like it's the honest, right thing to say and do. And so I do that. And always in the end, it turns out either that person votes themselves off my island because we're not a good fit, or that person comes back later and is like, "Thank you for being so honest. You were like the
Yeah.
only one that was willing to tell me that. And that
Mm.
I needed to hear that. I needed to know that." Whatever. It works out.
Yeah.
And if I do it from a
Mm.
place of love, then I'm not defensive. I'm not,
Correct.
I don't feel like I have to convince, cajole, coerce. I'm not using any of that force energy. I'm
Mm.
clear, I'm kind, I'm calm. I'm at peace with my decision, even if the person doesn't like it. Right. And that's how I want to be. So we're going to attract also things that continue to fuel us and do right by us. And we will then in kind be able to continue to perpetuate that when we focus, I think, on those pieces and not what more can I do for the world? Because we will do for the world in the right way if we focus on how we want to be.
Woo. Traci Wulwyn Phillips, once again, we've done it. An hour we've been here. Thank you so much for spending a part of your Valentine's Day with me. Truly appreciate it. Eavesdroppers, thank you so much for being here with us. We look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Traci, have a good one.
You too, my friend. Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.